Support for WXAV 88.3 FM and WXAV.com is being provided by Bookies, new and used books. Bookies is an independent bookstore located at 10324 Southwestern Avenue in Chicago. They have a collection of new and used books and accept book trade-ins and donations. More information is available at bookieschicago.com and on Instagram at bookieschicago.
This is a WXAV 773 Sounds podcast, introducing you to the best local bands in the Chicagoland area.
Hi, this is Peter Kreten from 773 Sounds here on the WXAV 88.3 FM Chicago, your escape from ordinary radio. And it is my favorite segment of the program. It's our Featured Artist of the Week segment, where we spotlight one of the great local bands of the Chicagoland area. Now, this band has a really special connection for me with WXAV because this band was recommended to me by one of our DJs, Radio Ruda, who you can hear every Wednesday night with her great show, Alternative Sounds for Your Head. And Ruda basically texted me once and goes, "You need to listen to Kicked by a Hand. You will absolutely love them." And when Ruda tells me something, I listen to Ruda, and Ruda was absolutely correct. Kicked by a Hand has this great sound that reminds me very much of like old school 90s ska with Mighty Mighty Boss tones, but just fun pop, alternative indie rock music. And I'm so excited because I have RJ from Kick by Hand here on the program. RJ, how are you?
I am so happy to be doing more stuff with WXAV. I've done several interviews with Radio Ruta herself, so it is a pleasure anytime to do stuff with you guys. I'm happy to do this.
And we're so happy to have you with us. And, you know, we got to give Ruta her flowers. She really is a Southside legend.
She is 100%. Yeah, she spins a lot for like festivals and like street fairs and stuff. So she is all about the music. She's, as they say in the Bachelor franchise, here for the right reasons.
She absolutely is here for the right reasons. And I think, RJ, I think you would agree with me that everyone needs to listen to Ruta's show at 7 o'clock on Wednesdays.
Yes, for sure. If you have an internet connection or a radio signal strong enough, you absolutely should listen. I think the tagline is "Sounds for Your Head" or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's wonderful. I always like to begin my interviews by going back to the beginning and everything.
Mm-hmm.
How did you first discover music and then realize that you wanted to be a musician?
So there's kind of like 2 or 3 parts to answer that question. So my dad was in his own punk rock band called Dead Freddy, and they revived not too long ago. So I've actually performed with them multiple times. We'll fast forwarding a little bit here, but we'll be playing with them July 9th at Reggie's. So it's very cool to like share the stage with him. So like being introduced to punk and two-tone ska. So like we're talking like 80s version of ska was first introduced to me and my sister from my dad, but then you have like pop and even like techno influences from my mom because she likes that DJ kind of stuff. So Groove is in the Heart is a great example. Nice. So like that kind of dancey music. My mom told me the literal day I was born, when they were waiting for me to be birthed at Northwestern Hospital, she was singing Talking Heads for me. The "Baby, baby, please let me hold you." So music has been a thing before I was born in my family. Part B is just, I don't know, just loving music. I needed something to do when I was like 10, 11 years old. We had moved from the Chicago area to the Detroit area, and I didn't have a ton of friends when we first moved there. So for a long time, it was just me and my dad doing our Sunday spins in the black punch buggy. Part of how I learned to play guitar was playing along to a bunch of my favorite artists over and over. So it wasn't YouTube yet, but some other music video website that I can't for the life of me remember. Blink-182 is one of my biggest influences. So I have the greatest hits. This is from like 2004, I want to say. So it's got the classic smiley face logo. So for example, the first song is Carousel. So I learned how to play that intro by just pulling up on ultimateguitartabs.com, which I still use that website. So I would pull that up, or I would print it out, and then whatever website it was would play, for example, Minority by Green Day, and play along essentially to the music video, if not the actual CD on the boombox immediately to my left, and then just play on my guitar. Now, the guitar I first started learning to play on was an adult size acoustic guitar loaned to me by a neighbor friend of ours. They never asked for it back. So I assume it's mine at this point. It's been over 20 years.
Yeah.
I never was officially taught how to play guitar by anybody. I was given the guitar and like one book of like, these are the strings, this is how to tune it, this is all the parts, like your most basic knowledge guitar book could not have been more than like maybe 30, 40 pages, right? Just like very simple. Here's how you read sheet music, that kind of thing. Because I had been in orchestra pretty much all my schooling years too, I at least learned how to read bass clef pretty early on, because I did cello and bass in middle school and high school.
Oh, wow.
So all those years, so all 6 years, I was middle school for me was 2 years in Michigan. So 7th and 8th grade was orchestra, and then 9, 10, 11, 12 was also orchestra, but I was doing bass in high school. We needed bass, and it was the same clef, and my teacher knew I played guitar. So she's like, oh, it's the same thing. Don't even worry about it. The reason why I started with cello is, I'm not exaggerating, because of, well, no, really, it was because of the movie School of Rock, where Jack Black goes to Katie, who would be the bass player, being like, you just tilt it to the side and cello, you've got a bass. So I legitimately have to credit the movie School of Rock as like one of my biggest like inspirations, or like match strokes to what I do, especially because all those child actors were around the same age as me at the time. So it really was like my peers being reflected in that movie. I loved that movie so much that it got to the point for like a state test. You know how there's like essay questions for like state testing when you're in school? I to this day can't remember the prompt, but somehow it was relevant and well received. I was writing about how that movie made me want to learn to play guitar and be in my school's orchestra. So that's why I'm like, it's kind of column A, column B, column C for like how to explain how I started. So the short version is like, music's always been in my family. I essentially was self-taught from like age 10 or 11 and just never stopped playing on YouTube. Well, it wasn't YouTube, but YouTube, and then playing along with compilation CDs that I really liked. So
I love that. And from my millennial heart, I love seeing the CDs and the notebook too and everything, because there's so many memories tied into those objects. I mean, like that is your copy of Blink-182. That's your copy of Green Day. And that thread just connects you with how to learn your music and everything. I love that. That's really, really beautiful. So let's fast forward a little bit. You're back here in Chicago, and you mentioned that you were a solo artist for a long time, but then you went and you started a band called Kick by a Hand. Walk me through how Kick by a Hand came into being.
The story behind it will all make sense. I'll tell you the story behind the band name, and it's all going to fall together. So when I was in high school, shout out Geneva Vikings, we were hosting a speech team event, and they're very expensive and difficult to put on. So it was one out of maybe 2 when I was there that we had hosted. And when we were hosting this event, a friend of mine, my teammate, made the finals, and it just so happened the room she was competing in the finals was the same exact room I was taking bio in. That was going to be just in class 2 days later. So I knew exactly where I wanted to sit. So I go to my bio class good and early to watch my teammate and support her along with some of my other teammates. So I'm sitting in the perfect spot. This guy I have never seen before or since was sitting behind me. And I don't know if this was just like to mess with me, flirting with me, just trying to start a conversation, being friendly. I couldn't tell you this guy's motivation. What I can tell you was, I'm going to do my best to describe verbally, but it's very easy to show on camera. He used his middle finger and index finger and his thumb. So the fingernails are pointing out towards me. and was kicking me. So swish, 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 swish. And on the, this isn't the palm, the top of the hand had a dot, dot squiggle. So it looked like a smiley face. So he was going like this, swish, 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 with the two fingers and like just kind of like kicking the back of my shoulder with his fingers. And I just remembered the clear thought of, oh, I've been kicked by a hand. So we fast forward after that meet, however many months, was my first opportunity to perform as a solo artist. So literally just me and my guitar, because I had been in other bands like in high school. So I wasn't new to that world at this point. But when the people that were booking me were like, do you want your full name? I was like, nah, I'm going to be kicked by a hand. Because you have to remember, this is like 2010, 2011. Okay. So this is the era of Never Shout Never, Dashboard Confessional, Bright Eyes, like all these solo artists that are using these stage names. So part of it was like, well, if it's okay for them, it's okay for me. But it's also like, somehow the phrasing kicked by a hand is the same amount of syllables, but easier for people to pronounce than my last name. Ramanauskas, kicked by a hand. A couple of years, whenever somebody just needed someone to open for their show for, however long, 30 minutes to an hour. I've done it all by myself, just me, my guitar, and my voice. That was my stage name. So a few years ago, let's see, because it's 2026 now, I'm trying to do some math. Well, anyway, a few years ago, unfortunately, my grandmother passed away of natural causes.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that.
When she passed away, she left me a little bit of money, and I'm like, well, I need to do something with this. So I contacted my friend Ryan Caldwell, who owns and operates his own recording studio, of like, hey, let's record a couple of my songs and we'll put a picture of her as the album art. So to still some way tie her to it. So that's how that started. So a few of the songs don't have horns because they're from like previous bands that I've been in. So like there's the instrumental song, This Is Tomorrow. I wrote that like my junior year of high school, and that was in 2 takes for that particular recording.
Nice.
Great Conversationalist was from one of my high school bands, and my friend Joe Soldati is performing. He recorded it with the same guitar from that era. He's got a bunch now, but he made sure to use the same black Gibson SG for that recording.
Nice.
Yeah, so like little details like that. But for the most part, like I wrote all the songs that are on that album, and spoiler, there's a second one coming. So I wrote those, and some of the songs I'm like, finally I can get these horn parts that it has been just my voice singing them. So for example, PT Loser, I still sing it out of habit because I've been singing it since like senior year of like the ba 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 da. So I'm still playing that on the guitar, using my voice, and now the horns are doing it. So it's like triple the effect of that main theme.
Oh, cool.
It was just so cool. Like during our dress rehearsal, and everybody's in the room with me, and it's not just the recording anymore of like in the studio where everybody did, piece by piece, horn by horn kind of situation. We weren't all there at once. So during that dress rehearsal, I got like crazy and emotional. I'm like, oh my God, this is how it's supposed to sound. And what's funny, my sister told me at our album release show in November of 2024, apparently she had the same exact reaction. I did not see it. She described to me later on. She's like, this is what Kesha in my car is supposed to sound like. Oh my God. Like it was like for my friends and family who have seen me performing it as a soloist for so long, it had to be very satisfying to be like, oh, this is what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
This is the full effect. So it's like really cool just how it all came together. So full band Kick by a Hand has been a thing since November of 2024, more or less.
Yeah.
And I keep asking my bandmates if they want to do more shows, and they keep saying yes, and I'm very grateful.
Well, that's wonderful. Well, it seems like you almost needed that full band to get your vision of the music going out there. So I'm kind of curious for you, how's that transition been from being a solo artist then for so long to now you're in a collaborative environment where you're playing with others and you're in a band and everything?
Well, I very much take essentially being the band leader very seriously. Earlier this morning, about an hour ago or so, I wrote what I call the mega email. So it's this massive email whenever we have a show coming up. I write down like all the details of like, this is what the venue is like, because I've actually performed at
Yeah.
this particular place before. So it's like, here's where you should park. This is load in is basically when we want.
Yeah.
Showtime starts at 7, we're on at 8, like things like that. And then I'll write down like, here's our set list, here's everybody on whatever instrument, so everyone knows. It's been I'm trying so hard to balance of like Kick by Hand is still technically like me, my band, however you want to put it, but I'm trying to be so respectful to my bandmates that have said yes to performing all these shows with me. So it's very much like I still put together like the set list. I'm still writing the originals, but I'm definitely open to like if one of my bandmates is like, I think this song I'm working on would be a good fit, I would be open to it, would love to jam with them. I wouldn't say no, right? It just so happens for the most part, it's like, okay, I was in the studio with Ryan last Wednesday, and also I'll be in there this Wednesday.
Wonderful.
With a new song. I will go in the recording studio, and the program that Ryan uses when we do on a keyboard is the sheet music for the horns.
Mm-hmm.
So then it essentially translates or transposes, but it'll be like, here's the trumpet sheet music, and just essentially prints itself. And then we can just email it to whoever.
Oh, nice.
To me, it's totally worth that time and money in the studio because I'm not skilled or proficient enough to do that myself. I can do that with like guitar and bass just fine, being like A chord, B chord.
Yeah.
Like I've had to do that with people who filled in on bass before, and it's easy enough for me to do that. But with horns, I'm like, oh, Ryan, take care of this.
Yeah. You have way more confidence than I do. I wouldn't be able to do that with any of the instruments. I'll be like, here, you're the professional, take this.
That's kind of what it is for the horn players. So when we were recording the first album, I was having the trombone as close as possible mirror a bass part during Gatekeeper. And I have a video of this discussion on our Instagram, so you can see in real time what I'm about to describe. Is Joe, the trombone player, was like, I can't go from that note to that note this quickly. It's like physically impossible to do this.
Yeah.
So we had to like figure it out in person in real time. So things like that, I don't know because I don't play horn instruments or any woodwind or anything. Not since like 5th grade, where they were like, this is a saxophone. Give it a try. You know, I know at least to an extent the physical possibility because I sing those horn parts. So I know the blowing capacity, like your lung capacity. If I can hold this note, my horn players probably can too.
Yeah.
So in that regard, I'm pretty confident of like, if I can hold this note as the singer, they could probably handle at least that physical component, that literal physical component, just fine. So it's just more of on the alto sax, the lowest note is this. I don't know off the top of my head. And on the trumpet, the highest note is this. I don't know off the top of my head. I usually try to do things relatively close to my speaking voice or my normal singing range. And then Ryan does his magic as a producer and essentially, in my opinion, a musical savant, and like makes these amazing harmonies you hear on the album. So like where the horn parts for the most part are written by me, he's kind of putting together what I've been singing and making it make sense and putting the harmonies together where I either wasn't confident enough to put them or he thinks of it and he's like, he'll run it by me first, being like, what do you think of this? Let me audition this for you. And he hits play and I'm like, yes.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it's still collaborative in a way, but like I start the foundational part and I'm like, what do you think? Is this physically possible? Can we do this? And they'll be like, yeah.
Well, it sounds like you've developed a system that works with collaborating with Ryan and everything, and that's wonderful. I mean, that's got to be half the battle. Now, you've mentioned you've been going in the studio. When can we expect a new album out by Kick by a Hand?
Okay, so Ryan is very reasonable with his rates, but it's still very much like out of my pocket.
Yeah.
The first album, a good chunk of it was from my grandmother, and like for me to finish it and like pay some of the horn players, that was out of my own pocket.
Yeah.
You've seen the economy these days. But thankfully, I've been working a lot of overtime
Yeah.
recently, so I'm hoping to get more done. I've basically been trying to juggle between when to release the album versus I want a more complete album, if that makes sense. Because I
Yeah.
think
No.
right now, as it stands, including the song that we worked on last week and this coming Wednesday, it's like 7 or 8, so it's slightly shorter than the first one, but that's not including like the little instrumental in between bits that we put on the first album, right?
Yeah.
So it might even out to around the same amount. So part of me is like, is this complete enough for our sequel album, our sophomore album? And after that, it's basically we have to track drums, guitar, and bass. I can do whenever because that's me. When are the horns available? Doing the final take for vocals, and then the mixing and mastering, which is completely out of my hands. I let Ryan do that, and then our friend Justin from Facing Winter was the one who did the master
Oh,
for
nice.
this album. I'll definitely ask him to do the same because it sounds great. So that's kind of like the order of operations. So right now I need to decide between, outside of the money thing, do I feel this is enough music? If this song that we're going to finish up on Wednesday, if we finish that, do I feel this album is complete enough as like the, like the next step? Because I feel like the debut album set a certain standard, and I want to make
Yeah.
sure we either meet or exceed it. Am I happy with the quality? I am so far, but to me it's shorter, so it might be a quality versus quantity kind
Yeah.
of thing.
But
So
you bring up a really interesting aspect that I don't think a lot of people look on with local bands is
mhm,
so much of this is a labor of love, and so much of
definitely.
this is self-financing and very DIY, and I think there's kind of this misconception that, well, you're in a band, so you're just kind of, it's taken care of. You're able to make this and everything will be okay. And people don't realize the resources that goes into,
Hmm.
getting studio time, paying someone to master stuff. Are you going to print this on a CD? Are you going to do a vinyl? Because I mean, that's not charity work.
No.
That's money that you have to do and everything. I'm here with RJ from Kick by a Hand here on 773 Sounds. Now RJ, if people want to find the band on social media or on the interweb, where can they find you guys?
So there's a couple social media platforms that we have. So Facebook, if you want the videos of like more full performances, we have a couple videos of like whole sets. Facebook is the way to go for those longer form videos. And then Instagram of Kicked by a Hand is the more I won't say day to day, but the more regularly I post there more regularly, just day to day of like not just my bands, but of other bands. It's to me more accessible to post about that. I try
Mhm.
to on Facebook, but Facebook, if you want like full length videos to see what we're like live, and then Instagram is the more day to day kind of stuff. I don't post necessarily every day, but that's where a lot of stuff is posted more frequently. So it depends on your flavor. So if you want like the long form videos, Facebook is the way to go. And if you want the more bite-sized content, would be Instagram. Those are the two we have. We do have a Blue Sky, but I basically only post like, here's our next show. So it kind of
Mhm.
just exists. I don't really post on there very frequently. So yeah, Instagram and Facebook both is just Kicked by a Hand. Add to our follower count if you so wish. That would be great.
Yes, please do. Please do. Now, RJ, you did mention,
Mhm.
on Facebook, you can see live sets, but it would be even better to see you guys in person because you have some shows coming up
We
over the
do.
summer. What are some shows coming up for a Kick by a Hand?
Definitely. So I have it on a little piece of paper just off screen here. I did not want to forget anything coming up, so I wrote it down like 10 minutes before we started this.
Oh, awesome.
So this is so in a couple weeks from time of recording, May 16th, all these shows are Saturdays, except for one. Through that, we have a show in August where it's essentially going to be a house show. So we don't have the venue yet, but it's for my friend's birthday. So if you want something very much like punk DIY, and my band just happens to be there, that would be a good option for you. So that's going to be somewhere on the south side of Chicago. We'll be posting more about that as we get closer. July 9th, which is a Thursday night, we'll be at Reggie's. We'll be performing with Dead Freddy as well. So if you want double the Lithuanian fronted action, good news. So we'll be at the iconic Reggie's in Chicago, July 9th. And then I don't think I've posted this online yet. You're the first to hear.
Oh, man,
September
we're breaking
5th.
news.
Yes, September 5th. So the Saturday of Labor Day weekend, we will be returning to the Cubby Bear.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, so we got 4 shows coming up. We're taking June off because Pride Month.
Absolutely.
So.
Absolutely. Well, but how exciting, because there's so many different opportunities for people to go and see some really incredible music with Kick by a Hand. Just a couple more questions for you.
Sure.
When you're looking to write a song, what's more important for you? Is it the melody or is it the lyrics?
I struggle with that all the time. Because I learned guitar in such a weird way, it's usually not even like melody necessarily. Because I was a soloist for so long, songs had to sound good with just being my guitar. So I would try to focus on like good chord progressions, good structure, that kind of thing. Because I know a little bit of music theory, but I just like your bare bones, like level 1.2, right?
Yeah.
So I try to write a song that without the horns, without drums, will still sound good, because that's what's been for a long time for me. So I'm still in that habit of, as long as it sounds good with my voice and my guitar, the rest will fall into place. So that being said, I have a lot of like partial songs where like the chords are ready, but I haven't found lyrics that fit. Or I have like so many Google Docs of like song ideas, and I even have like little tunes for like a couple lines, but they haven't fallen into place yet. So it's funny how sometimes something that I've written, whether it's chord or lyrics or whatever, will kind of be on the back burner or back pocket for months, if not years. And then finally some idea happens or some experience happens to me or a friend of mine. And then it all like dominoes comes together. I'm like, yes, I have this idea. And other times I come up with the song in 24 hours, like Clarissa explains it all over again. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
So
Well, the
it really is
inspiration
a mixed
struck.
bag.
Yeah.
Yes, truly. Like, so I'm inspired often. And I have a lot of chords and chord progressions because music is great like that, you can piece it all together. But I'm sure part of it is me just being picky too, of like, well, this could work, but I think it could be better, which is part of also why the first album and the second album is taking so long outside of like the financial thing, is just like, I want it to be as close to perfect as possible before I even go to the studio or show it to my bandmates. And that was the case even before Kick by Hand, just like with other bands I've been involved in, of like, I want everything to be ready. I'm open to edits, but this is what I've got. That's just my approach. I know that's not the same for everyone. Some musicians jam first and then they kind of put it together. I'm certainly open to that, but this has been my approach for a very long time because it's been just me for a long time.
Yeah.
So.
But also too, like, it's your art. It's you coming out with your message, and it's your expression of what you're feeling and what you're going through in the moment. I mean, for me, that makes complete sense that, you have a vision and you want to see that vision through.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, I would say. Yeah. Because like some song ideas are very short, and I know in punk and ska you can have, a 1-minute song and it will be fine. But at the same time, it's like, but what if I did this 4-minute epic about like inclusivity, which is Gatekeeper? So it's kind of like all these ideas are floating. If you're familiar with the meme with like, there's this blonde woman, there's all these math equations floating about her head.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I operate most of the time.
Oh, that's fabulous. That's good. So, final question I have for you. WXAV, we're a college radio station. We work with students a lot. And one thing I've kind of noticed is a lot of students want to get into the local scene, but they kind of don't know where to start because, especially here in Chicago, the local scene is so vast and it's so vibrant and it's so diverse. Do you have any advice or suggestions for that college kid that they want to check out the local scene, but they don't know where to start?
Sure. There's kind of a couple different ways you can do it. So one is just straight up like just going like on Facebook and looking up like your neighborhood or Chicago music scene and just seeing what people are posting there. If you feel a little bit more extroverted like myself, is just going out to, if not venues, then like your local bar that has music. That's how Kick by Hand has performed multiple times. I was a patron and fan of Bernice's Tavern for quite some time before we ever played there. And once I saw a band play there, I'm like, yes, this is my moment. This is my opportunity. So just something like that is really, for lack of a better word, like just shooting your shot in that instance of like, hey, I see bands play here on Friday nights. What does it take to do that? Like some places need an EPK, an electronic press kits. Some places are like, yeah, sure. Do you have a Facebook? Do you have iTunes? Just so like they have an idea, not just like, oh, it's me and my buddies getting together for the first time. F you to that, like. There's also the third option, which you could argue is the spiciest option, but it's the most sincere answer, is make your own shows. As long as you have a space to do it and enough electronic wattage and power for whatever your needs are, then do it. Like when I was living in Geneva, we've had bands perform in my parents' basement because we had the space to do so. I was just at a house show this past weekend. So on the flyer, it just said, ask for address, and all these people ended up showing up. So basically, so you don't accidentally dox the homeowner, right? Or like, even if you don't do like a house show, you have the option of just asking like public spaces that have that kind of firepower and literal physical space. So if there's, like a gazebo, like in St. Charles, I've played before. There's like 2 power outlets and a small stage. Ask what it takes to perform there. When I was growing up in the western suburbs, there were a couple teen centers. So I just walked up to them one day, was like, can my band play here? Like truly just shot my shot. And that's how I booked a couple gigs, was just doing that. But I understand that can be very intimidating and even terrifying for some people, because you might be anxious to speak with other people that you've never met before, or maybe just intimidated by what if they say no. You have an answer. No is an answer.
No is an answer.
So it kind of just guides you that way. So part of it is, well, what approach do you want? So like just going on Facebook or Instagram and going on tags or the search bar, Chicago music scene, or like I live in the South Side, so South Side Chicago music scene, Bridgeport, something like that. Or you can even get more vague or more specific with genre. So I've performed with Fury, who's this really cool rapper, and she has a live band performing, and they've been performing in all these different venues. Basically, whoever will take her, and the musicians playing with her. So part of it's flexibility and part of it is shooting your shot. So how DIY do you want to be? If my ska band, somewhere between 6 and 8 people, can find these spaces, your band can too, even as a soloist. I did it as a soloist for a long time. There are still soloists out there. You can do it. You just got to be brave. You got to bite the bullet sometimes. If you're willing to perform in front of other people, you have some, courage in you. So, 2 shots of courage in this case. Just do it. Like make your own thing or approach those venues. You won't know until you ask. And if you don't want to ask, make your own thing.
That's right. I mean, the worst thing anyone can tell you is no. So if you can live with that, be fearless. RJ from Kick by Hand, thank you so much. Again, Kick by Hand on Instagram and on Facebook, and be sure to go and check them out.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for listening to this WXAV 773 Sounds podcast. For more information on 773 Sounds, please visit our website, wxav.com.
Support for WXAV 88.3 FM and WXAV.com is provided by Northwest Community Credit Union. Northwest Community Credit Union is located on campus inside the Graham School of Management and offers financial services for the St. Xavier community.
Services include student credit cards, student loans, and other financial resources. More information is available at nwccu.com.